while going through the footage for this episode, we figured here and now would be a very appropriate time to go over what this episode's a little bit about. And that is that things don't always go to plan when you're RVing, and that's part of it. You got to deal with it. Why it makes sense for us right now, the campground we're at right now has had all kinds of issues. When we got here, we got to our site, which is actually right over there, site 55. Boop. We were supposed to be right there. Got all in, and they're crazy off level, so
yeah.
Took a long time, got ourselves level, got all set up, went to hook up, and the power pole didn't work. So we go to the front office and they say, all right, we'll move you. And so we had to undo everything, get all back down off the jacks and everything, and moved around to the site, which that was a pain too, because
it's a tiny little loop.
It's a state park, so we're not designed for larger rigs. We're 38 feet, and they tell you that they fit, which we did barely. Where we ended up at, we opened the door into a tree, so the tree there, and then we can't use our awning because there's a tree right there.
Oh, the other side's worse.
And no matter where we would have been, forward or backwards, we wouldn't have been able to open the awning. And then we're a tree right there, so if you had any slides, you definitely wouldn't be opening them up. Like I say, we fit, but barely. So we got shimmied around and got into this site, which is even more off level. And as you can see, we're up on blocks that we're actually almost floating off of. You can see the backside of it's even tipped, so there's not really much pressure on it anymore. And we're still nowhere near level. We're like running upstairs to the bedroom, and got ourselves hooked up there, and luckily the power worked, which I tried before we got fully hooked up. Learned our lesson the first time. But then last night the water just stopped. We were doing something and there was just no water, and come to find out there was a leak, and they didn't tell anybody. They were just going to shut off all the water to the campground. So that was off for 4 or 5 hours or something until it got going. So we hurried up and took showers and stuff last night, and then this morning we're getting ready to clean the shower, clean the sinks, stuff before we leave. No water again. I guess the repair they did, there was still another leak or something, so they shut the water off once again without telling anybody they were going to. So we're trying to hit the road. I just wanted to show you that it doesn't always work out to be the perfect adventure, just like in Bar Harbor. Today, where are we going today?
Bar Harbor?
Bar Harbor! We got some breakfast and got some ice cream. There was a nice little ice cream shop we had there. We started walking around, and it was just so busy, it just really wasn't our scene. So we went and continued on to Acadia. We were going to spend some time hiking in Acadia. And the first day we went and drove up Cadillac Mountain. We were looking around the views from Cadillac Mountain, and on the way down we had some Jeep issues.
Oh, we're smoking.
We've got another episode about that if you see that repair job for the Jeep when we broke down. So that killed the day. Yeah, so that killed the day with repairs for the Jeep, and lost a day of hiking for that. So then we get back out, and there was falcon nesting.
Yes.
Yeah, falcon nesting on like the Maine trail in Acadia, and therefore all the other trails were just swamped. It was just, the
place was busy.
Yeah, it was like Black Friday at the Mall of America on an escalator. There was people everywhere, and we'd even gotten out early to try to beat the crowds, and it was just mobbed because of the main trail being closed. So lost the day hiking for the Jeep. Second day, just weren't feeling it because there were so many people. So
yeah, we drove around the park
we drove around the park loop and stuff, and it was very pretty, but we didn't get to experience what everybody goes to Acadia for. So continued on after that, and then headed to Portland, and that's where you're meeting up with us now. Sunrise Lighthouse photo shoot. Doing it for you guys. Doing it for you guys. sun has finally come up, finally shown its head past the kind of murky morning. Figured we'd give you a little more info on the Portland headlight. It was originally built in 1787 when the Massachusetts Congress allotted $750 to build the lighthouse. It's crazy to think $750.
That was a lot, though.
Yeah, it was a lot back then. And then in 1790, the United States took over and Congress allowed $1,500 to finish the construction of the house and lighthouse keepers' quarters, I was probably called back then. It originally measured 72 feet tall and was powered by 16 whale oil lamps.
Oh, wow.
In 1865, they added 20 feet to the tower and put in a second Fresnel lens. I think I've said that right, Fresnel lens. It's a prismatic lens that allows for the centralized light source to be redirected into a straight beam out from the lighthouse and be seen, I think it was up to 22 miles from shore. Either that or the new one can be seen 22 miles from shore. This is also the most photographed lighthouse in the United States. So of course we had to get up early and try to get some photos of it. And the sunrise was less than epic.
Yeah, I didn't cooperate.
But I ended up, it was really cool to see 6 or 7 other photographers all kind of lined up in the exact same spot, getting the exact same shot while I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off down in the rocks down on the shore, trying to get something different to salvage the photo shoot for the day, because you weren't going to get the iconic the sun's coming up right next to the lighthouse shot because of the fog, so, or the cloud cover, whatever you want to call it. But made it work. There's also an old lighthouse just off the shore from here that's owned by a local physician, and a few years back I guess the Coast Guard tried to land him on, either him or another set of lighthouse people that were really into lighthouses, tried to land them on the island where it's at to try to look at it, and I guess it was so rough out there that the Coast Guard couldn't even get them landed. So it must be pretty intense if nobody can land out there, so that's probably why it's gotten all dilapidated.
Yeah, it looks sad.
It looks really sad, but it still does have a functioning light on it, but nobody does any maintenance to the thing. For a long time they actually have a board with all of the lighthouse keepers that were Coast Guard related. It was a post for people on the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard no longer runs it. The town of Cape Elizabeth is now in charge of the running and maintenance upkeep of the lighthouse, and they've got a placard dedicated to all the Coast Guard lighthouse keepers that were throughout the years. The headlight is located on Fort Williams Park because it initially was used as a lookout for incoming ships
in World War II.
And there's still remnants of structures from Fort Williams along the grounds here. So the building behind us, right there, is what's left of an old battery, Erasmus Keys. It was built in 1905, and it was used to protect the minefield in the channel. Had two 3-inch rapid-fire guns mounted to it, and was manned at all times and ready to fire at any vessel that didn't identify itself. So it's hard to believe. They said there was a rangefinder mounted to the side of the building, and they would determine the distance with the rangefinder to then aim the guns appropriately. So we're not big humans. As you can see, there's not a lot of room in this structure. So this structure was used as the captain's quarters as well as the range finding station. But it's, I don't know, 10 by 10 and maybe 6 feet tall. So tight quarters. It's probably also a good gunner station with the lookouts here that are now covered in chain link, overlooking the landing of the harbor. Beach over there. What better way to treat yourself for getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go try to get sunrise photos than to go to the Holy Doughnut. It's potato donuts?
Yeah.
Potato donuts.
Made from scratch.
Made from scratch. They
hand cut them.
Yeah, so if you're in the Portland area, go to
the Holy Doughnut.
The Holy Doughnut.
There's 3 locations.
Yeah, 3 locations. We were in the one in Scarborough. Their potato donut lady ended up starting the business because she wanted to have donuts she didn't feel bad about eating. So all locally sourced ingredients, not a bunch of preservatives.
No dyes.
No dyes. They basically sell out every day, and if they don't, they donate the leftover donuts to organizations. So they're always going to be fresh donuts. You're not going to have any day olds or anything that you're dealing with. And let me tell you, the place smells amazing, and the donuts look amazing too. So, oh, we don't have napkins or anything.
Mm.
Who cares?
You can do that one.
Mm-hmm. Good old cinnamon.
Cinnamon sugar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're delicious.
The Holy Donut. Check them out.